Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of The Barden. I'm Phil Rice. Welcome to The Barden. Once again, on this very auspicious day, I have a group of wonderful guests here, and we're going to talk all about, well, the theme of the show is generally Hermetics, but, everyone who comes on has a variety of practices and cultivation methods and approaches. Hang on, turn that off. Approaches to the work and how it complements their existing practices or that. It's far more than I can probably put into a small sentence, so I won't, because I want my guests to come on and tell you all about what they're up to and what they've been doing. And so without further ado, let's just do this first. Please enter your questions into the live chat and we'll get to them towards the probably 3/4 of the way through the first hour. And don't forget, you can check out the links in the description below for how you can connect with the guests and see all their goodies and things. And we'll do a little bit of a slideshow at the end with their websites and things so you guys can get a bit of an update and an in-depth. But we'll do a bit of a quick update. I'll bring the guests in now. So first of all, I'm going to bring in the lovely Nathan from the Maverick Mystic Arts and the Tai Chi Institute.ca. Hello, brother Nathan. How art thou, sir?
Hey, you doing good, bro?
That's the one. What's been happening, man? You're still in the van? You look like you're in the van.
Yeah. Still in the van. How you doing?
Well, I'm so good I wouldn't even know where to start. I've actually used that already once today, but that's okay. That's my reply. Everyone asks me how I am, so I try to come up with a different reply, but I didn't think of any new ones.
How are you not?
Well, I'm not bad. There we go. That's a classic Kiwi saying. So whereabouts are you right now? What part of the map are you at a necessarily like undisclosable position or something?
No, in BC, Canada.
Yeah.
If you want to keep chunking down, Lower Mainland, keep chunking down. I think somewhere in Coquitlam or Port Moody or Pitt Meadows. I'm not 100% sure exactly.
Okay. Well, we don't want people triangulating your position just yet. But so what are you up to, man? You just are you doing any? You've been doing any workshops in there recently?
I did one in June for a few weeks, and I've been looking into some longer duration silent retreat type teachings. Mm-hmm. So I'd love to do like a 3-month silent retreat, and people can register for 1 month or the first 2 months or all 3 months, something to that effect. That's been on my mind. Maybe somewhere in Nepal might be really cool. But there's a lot more logistics when you have to accommodate food and lodging, because if it's a silent retreat type model, then you got to take people's phones and lock them up, and they can't be chit-chatting, going to restaurants and walking around, because it's a really cool type of teaching and training like method in terms of the silence for long durations of times, no eye contact, no communication, all that kind of stuff. So that's sort of in the works for some time.
Okay, cool as well. We'll pull up the website and the things at the end there. But that's a very interesting idea, that the silent retreat. I must say I do enjoy my isolation, especially in the busy times that we have. But thank you, sir. It's lovely to see you. I'm going to bring in now the wonderful Michael and Manuela from mmhermeticmastery.com. Hello, Michael and Manuela. How are you, brother and sister?
Hello, how are you? Nice to meet you again and hear what wonderful news you've been bringing.
Oh, you guys are really quiet. Can you just jack yourselves up a little bit?
Okay. How's that? Jacked up and good to go. Is that better?
Mm-hmm. Hang on. I'll see if I can do it from this end. Hang on. If you should stop. Yep, thank you. I'm just going to. Okay. Oh, no, you're on pretty much full. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's getting closer to the mic.
Yeah, just elevate a little if you could, please. That'd be great. Well, anyways, it's lovely to see you, and it's been a little while. And what has been going on? You guys are give us a nutshell of where you've been jet setting and what you've been up to.
Oh, I'll give you a variety of nuts, shells if you like. That way, it gives it that international flavour. When was the last time we spoke? Last time, as you remember on our show, Starsky and Hutch were trapped in an elevator shaft. We've basically done Europe. We did Eastern Europe as well as Western Europe, as well as running a workshop in Sardinia with the Naraji and the Tombs of the Giants. So we've had a lot of interest in that particular workshop. It was quite ironic that we went there. It was actually the request of a student, said, come over and do this. So that became very advantageous. Then, of course, we're running it again this year, coming into 2026, sorry, and as well as the workshop in Bosnia, the Bosnian pyramids and the Ravni tunnels that had tremendous effects around there. Once again, it's always on the edge, radical kind of work. We're in Thailand next month. Actually, it's this month now because it's November.
End of the month, yeah.
Yeah, and we start the Tree of Life there in person. So that's good. And it's a separate sort of entity, standalone workshop, which is good. So we've obviously just been finishing that one up online. So that's been a massive, online workshop, plus all our individual one-on-ones. And Europe was huge this year. Plus, we're looking for a holiday, but we tend to end up working on our holidays as we are now.
So basically, in a nutshell, we went to Germany, Scotland, Austria, Italy, Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia, obviously the pyramids in Bosnia and the conference there. And and then just back to Australia, Bali at the moment, getting ready for Thailand. So, just your usual countries a little bit, scooping around, having fun, meeting interesting beings.
It's maybe the question should be, where haven't you been? But
Yeah.
it's also quite a long list as well, isn't it? So, well, that's really great. I love all the pictures you guys send through. Like, you have take some amazing footage, and I think there's something too is that a lot of people are aware of the usual suspects when it comes to megalithic, monolithic sites. And then there's all of these sort of hidden treasures that are starting to emerge a little bit thanks to the internet, places like Sardinia. And I mean, pyramids in Europe, that's a big one, and so I think it's wonderful that we've got, people like yourselves, the boots on the ground, taking photos and talking about making footage and taking images, video, sharing this, and also, translating, what you're seeing as well, because I mean, it's even like in New Zealand. Oh, there's nothing in New Zealand. Well, actually, there's lots of interesting things in New Zealand, and but people don't know because it's not really something that's on the telly. The only ones that get on the telly are the big players like the pyramids and the odd big stuff like that. So it's really great, and I'm really grateful for you guys capturing all this and having the best time. It looks like you're having the best time having all these adventures and traveling and talking to all these people. So I'm grateful. And but I have got some things lined up towards the end of the stream that we can definitely have a look at, see what you guys are up to. I've got your websites and some slides and stuff loaded up. So anyway, welcome to everybody in the chat. Thanks everyone for joining us here. We have a wealth of experience, knowledge, and understanding here. That'll do. And well-traveled people. And so, please put your questions into the chat and we'll do our very best to get to them and answer them. And I'll pull them up towards the end there. So what I thought I'd do is that we'd start with something that I started with in the earlier session today. Now, originally I framed the question as what makes meditation retreats worthwhile. And not everyone had done a meditation retreat. And so I thought, well, let's broaden the conversation a little bit to, I guess what it is it's more about some kind of focused immersion, whether it's in isolation or with a group specializing in a particular training style or something of this kind. And, obviously as teachers, it's not so much about justifying your position as being a specialist, but it's also like you've been on these adventures yourself because, as we do. And I would really love to hear, Nathan, your take on the value of meditation retreats, workshops, and anything you might offer to people who are considering looking at something. So, whichever way you want to go with this one, Nathan, please, by all means.
Okay, so I think first, like you already said, there's so many different variations of these things.
Yeah.
So if we're going to look at immersive training of any kind, it is immersive, and you are putting in a lot of hours. And whether you are doing a retreat or immersive type of experience just by yourself in a van in the middle of nowhere, or in a cave in the mountains, or with a group of people, you still have the condensed experience, and so that creates an exponential effect in terms of the concentration, the buildup of energy, the potentials for release, and information that might come through. All of that stuff is, and much more, is growing. It's cumulative. So an hour of practice a day for 7 days, 7 hours, is not the same as 7 hours of practice in one day, where the 2 hours is 4 times the 1 hour, and doing 3 hours is 12 times the 1 hour, and then you have that every single day. So it's exponential. The power grows, the energy grows, your refinement grows, your awareness grows, so you can refine more and more and more, and then you get this very interesting juxtaposition of the massive accumulation and refinement of energy and the quality and refinement of you disappearing, that has to accompany that, so you don't feel like you're gonna die, right? It's just like, oh, my head's gonna explode, my heart's gonna explode, whatever. So instead of looking at it as like you have to create resilience in the body, the only reason that has to happen is if there's something in the way. So as an amalgamation of stuff that you call yourself starts to dissolve, the increase in the quality and just high octane nature of the energy you're working with can keep cascading and growing and refining more and more and more and more. Now, this is compounded again if we add silence, and we remove distractions of any and all kinds. Then you get that increase of the compounding nature of the concentration, awareness, refinement, and all the other stuff. And then the duration of time does that again. What adds to this more is if you have other people, other batteries there with you, then boom, increase it again. If you have other people who are skilled and who aren't bringing a whole bunch of nonsense, then okay, that's even better. And then if you're in, a retreat that's in some type of place of power, and you time that with, astrological type of effects, and if you are of the camp that that's a bunch of bull, there's some really interesting books on like aether physics and like shape power, all this stuff that connects with crazy anti-gravity effects, weird things that happen only in days where you happen to be passing through certain signs. Some really interesting work that's out there from very non believery, non-cult, non-easily cultified people, right? So anyway, all of this stuff, if you can stack more and more and more and more and more, then awesome. Your retreat or immersion experience, you can get a lot out of it. A lot of you will die off, and you're going to go a little bit nuts. So maybe start with a few of those things instead of all of the things, and slowly start increasing the power of the retreat or immersion that you're going to do, because too much at once, if you're unfamiliar with it, you won't understand or have experience with how you respond to all that stuff. And if you are unfamiliar with it, usually you experience all of you that is not that, which is sucky. So anyway, that's like a little brief, a few brief thoughts on that. What about yourself and you guys? Oh, your interview. Back to you, Phil.
So, thank you, brother. That was highly informative. And yeah, I think, setting up an environment to increase the likelihood of a meaningful outcome that's going to propel you forward and keep you practicing. I'm sure that there's, but like James from Perseus said in the previous one, he had to kiss a lot of frogs before he found the one he was looking for, and this is just the nature of it. And so a lot of money and time can get spent on exploring things, but knowing what what are the ideal ingredients for some kind of focused experience is valuable. So thank you for that. And so Michael and Manuela, I would love to hear your take on this. You're two both very active workshop providing people and retreats and all sorts of things. So please share your wisdom.
Yeah, well, obviously, we both have been running retreats for quite a few years. And when I was still living in Exmouth, my annual Exmouth retreat would just, yeah, be very interesting, so to say. Retreats in the desert. Everybody that knows Exmouth, you got that contrast with just literally desert, nothing being there, and then the reef. So beautiful contrast. And yeah, with the retreats or workshops in general, I think it gives people time to pause, to step away from, their everyday life, their everyday routine, the noise of the environment, the family, and it actually gives them time to come back to themselves, to reconnect with themselves, to evaluate where they are and what they want to do, what's important to them. And also because they're in a safe container, so to say, so they looked after, food is provided, bed is there. You don't have to go shopping and all of this, but also you're with like-minded people. And if you structure as a retreat leader, if you structure your retreat in a way that ties in with the energy and almost like the psychology as well, because when you go through a retreat, depending on what the topic is you're working on, people go through certain emotions. So everybody knows psychology. Day 3 and 4 of the retreat are very intense because that's when all the emotions come up. So you have to include a lot of healing, a lot of releasing in that. And as a facilitator, you can obviously do this with, offering healings, or you can include natural healing mechanisms in terms of water, nature, other, allies as well. And so depending on the length of the retreat and where you do it and what you want to achieve as well, if it's more like a healing retreat or if it's more, for example, that we are doing the 3 weeks retreat in next year, Bosnia, Croatia, Slovenia, where we'll be obviously connecting with the dragons and then ending up in the Bosnian pyramids, which is focused on the psychic skills and also the healing. Every retreat has, different purpose and attracts different people. So taking people through that journey that allows them to grow and to give them also the space to come back to themselves, connect with people, that they meet new friends. I think that's valuable point.
Yeah, I think that's so true. Like being taken out of a hyper familiar situation so that you can just not engage those things, because the familiar environment is gonna keep reminding you that you're there, and it's very hard to focus, especially in a very busy sort of modern world. So, and yeah, and I think too, meeting people as well, making friends, going to beautiful places and places of power, interesting places. It just all adds and it's just I think there's something about adventuring into the unknown, isn't there? That's quite liberating. But yeah, thank you, Manuela. That was a beautiful response. And Mr. Michael Lamb,
Yes.
you've been around the block a couple of times with this one. What can you share, sir?
Yes, many different retreats. We find, or one would find, many people want to escape or at least cut away from the shoulds and the shouldn'ts and the traffic and the screens and all of the programming, the mainstream programming and the regulation of our societies seem to be very intense now. There's so many little hoops people have to go through every day. With the particularly, let's say, the meditation retreats, as was mentioned, there's different types. People get a chance to really, as you say, immerse themselves in the environment. They get to work or involve themselves with a community, or even have the opportunity to cut off completely outside disturbances, distractions, noise, all the things that can take away from their own selves, as it were. So we find that many different places, let's say if you went anywhere, let's say if we go to Bosnia or Serbia or Croatia, the culture, the dance, the color, the music, the food, they can get quite immersed in that a particular area, or they can get time to read that book or practice that manual or practice those meditations that usually come up in the retreat itself and the practice, so they can get very involved without the other things that seems to take away. And once again, with meditation, there can be the silent type of meditation, or we do the more active, when people move deep within themselves, they get an opportunity to explore their different layers of their own bodies and their minds. And depending on the environment, it can be something of a very powerful sight or an energy there. People find they pick up more magnetism. They might be able to pick up beings from, let's say, other timelines. They might feel more into the ghosts or into the paranormal and things like that, depending on what we want to bring out. And then we can work with that. People tend to find themselves and areas that they want to choose to move into in their own world and their own mission. So the retreat has a lot, or any of the retreats have a lot of great benefits for people that need that. They're looking to really commit themselves into the development of their own selves, their mind, and connecting with their souls, or even ancestors. There are so many areas it does tend to go into. So it gives a community effect, and it also gives the chance for the individual to be at one with themselves.
Oh, wonderful. Yes. Great response. And I think, when I reflect back on my own experiences exploring, dedicated immersive experiences, one of those was many years ago, was at a Reiki workshop. And I was, I'm the only guy there, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, guys. Where's all the guys, right?
Yeah.
It's great, but anyway,
Names touching
Phil's
you.
I've got to be careful here. Someone might get the wrong idea when I frame it like this.
little
It's too late.
little black
No
and white
backing out
mirror
of
work
this
there.
now.
Oh yeah. But but what it did is it created a scenario for a series of outcomes that I could not conceive of, and that it was, it was just surprising. There were things that happened that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't have done this particular thing. Like things that were akin to that thing that popped out that were very curious, and it was well worth it. Absolutely. Just being in like I said, the environment and everyone was there for the same thing. It was the whole thing was set up for this situation, and it was a lot of fun and very surprising. And it was actually lovely hanging out with all these ladies because, man, they brought the best food. So it was great. It's great. All right. Well, that's great. Okay, I just want to say quickly to the chat, please, if you've got any questions, dear chat, please put them in and we'll get to them. And I've got another question here. And okay, we'll save that one for a bit. Okay, this is one I love asking, and we have touched on this in a previous one. I'm not sure it was with this particular panel, and it wasn't the same question, but this comes up a bit because it seems like such a natural thing, but it's not brought up necessarily in all texts as something that is something to be used, maybe something to be aware of. But I'm going to put it up anyway, and here it is. Have dreams or dream practices proven to be valuable? And I'm just going to quickly drop that. I have to say that the dream poet always provides me with a absolute plethora of things to contemplate, and yet it's like it's a lot of, there's so many different types of dreams. It's years of doing the dream work has, you can lean into this as deeply as you want to go. And I'm not going to steal the show with this one because I really want to hear what the guests have got to say on this. So, Michael, would you be kind enough to start this discussion off?
I know here. I will kick off with Nathan.
You're thinking very loudly, Michael.
Yeah.
Sorry, I switch up the order as I move through the event. So
Yes,
yeah.
the chess master. It's sooner or later we'll get back to this interview, and it's a very interesting topic because obviously just prior to this interview, I had really deep dreams. I have been lucid dreaming now, which is good. I've had a couple of really good ones this year where I'm awake and I'm going, oh my God, my hands are here. Hang on, I'm here. Hang on, the illusions are around me. So I'm awake in the astral planes. And this is a very good development. Dreams, if you can get your practitioners to actually engage deeper in the astral plane, there's obviously many of the different teachings of the great masters and that around the world about actually moving through the astral. However, we practice it obviously with empathy, communicating with animals and plants and things like this. However, pets can come back into your dream and save you from situations, that they empath, cats and dogs and birds and many of the different creatures around a place. Plus, they're quite symbolic. There's a beauty about the astral and the dreams about reading symbology because the astral and the soul tends to talk to one in more of these metaphorical or these universal language of symbols. Hence why, I think you should study a lot more runes and things. I find it's a very good to journal. If you can't write, obviously waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning scraping around for a pen is not the smartest thing. Look at some sort of way of recording. I've recorded many over the years, and I also like to hear it from students because some student will just ring you up in the middle of nowhere at any incredible time and then say, Luce, I just had this organic connection with this spaceship. It was over 1.5 kilometers long. It's massive, and it was telepathic. I said, yeah, it's organic metals. It's showing you, you've got to see the metaphor there. And also other people have dreams where they're like, I was on the coast and it was flooding, huge flooding. That's actually quite metaphorically connected to their own emotions, massive amounts of emotion. So even when I'm awake in the dream, I still got to look for the metaphor. And as you understand more about the astral plane, time and space is reversed there. What is the three-dimensional realms that are here are inverted. They become more like time. Space becomes like time, and time becomes like space. And this is the real key of the fourth dimensional travel that we're aiming for. We'll become timeless, or the immortal selves, when we really touch into spirit. But understanding the soul, how it moves in the astral planes is key to working with the veils and working with beings in reality, as it were, rather than just your own imagination. And I use that word imagination because you really need your own imagination, because as you feel, a lot of people end up doubting themselves. And the imagination is actually the key to the I Magi state, the I Magi, or the magician state, or the magnetist. So you're attracting your reality at a phenomenal rate. You're actually attracting it at a light speed. And therefore, if you look at the dream as the metaphor, it's your soul laying out the day, what's going on. If you're being, attacked by some huge ogre or being, that is metaphorically about someone challenging you in this world, or deep, emotional aspects such as hatred or jealousy being directed towards you. You start to see it. So the movies become real. In fact, most movies don't even register anymore unless they've got a real good meaning to them, because your life becomes so interesting in the astral and in the dream. Once again, waking up is when we tend to lose most, because we come back into our mental mind. Okay, remember, soul is different. We come through what's called, the misty state, or the twilight zone. Obviously, many of you probably understood that. And just remembering to retrieve most of that dream. Yet you may have nights without dreams. Yet when you lie a certain way, if you're in directional aspect, try this as well, because it makes up to your own organic self. If your head is to the north, or if it's more to the northeast or to the east and things like this, have a look at your own self and where you get the most dreams from. Some sleeping positions are more for deeper rest. Other times you might get in the dream realm and be there for days. And you can walk around virtually in the astral plane, but you can come back into this world quite tired. You didn't get the rest that you required in the dream because you're actually working in a parallel dimension and universe. Not obviously the topic of your average dream analyst, but that's what I have to share with that particular question.
Wonderful, thank you. Yeah, and there's a lot that can be taken from the dream experience, and I think especially if you're into studying symbolism, it's like the dreams don't really speak in literal words; they tend to speak in symbols. And so, if you're a student of the tarot, for example,
Yes.
that can help to act as a language bridge, focusing on a tarot, on a minor arcana or something before you go to bed. If you do that a couple of days in a row, chances are you're going to have a dream you're giving it a language set or a symbol set to pull from. And so you can have essentially a dream using those things around that information. And then obviously having some study time with the tarot deck or that card can help to inform it as well. And, but yeah, just in symbolism alone, it's very good because, everyone that tells you they had a dream about you, and it's like, well, it probably wasn't actually me. It was something about you coming through me as the character. There's something
Yes.
about me. There's a relevance, but it's not necessarily me. I don't need to dress up in a tutu and carry a pink umbrella and stand on a bucket in the middle of the street, sort of thing. I haven't actually got that. I just, for the record, that's not on my bucket list. Okay,
That was very specific, Phil.
it was oddly specific, wasn't
Maybe not this week. But
it depends what they start putting in the water, right? Anyway, okay, Manuela, I would love to hear your take on dreams, sister, please.
Yeah, as you said already, there's like a whole science, so to say, behind the dreams and the dream world, and obviously many layers and ways to connect with the dreams. And I worked quite a lot on this during my early stages of the shamanic practice, and then I decided, okay, um, to not practice this part anymore because I really like my sleep. I like to wake up in the morning being refreshed and not working at night, so to say. Um, but what I find with dreams in general, and that's just from observing and talking to customers, because I do a lot of, or I used to do a lot of house clearings, and especially when you go into children's bedrooms, there's always portals open, and the parents tell you, oh, the kids are seeing the boogeyman and all of that stuff. They can't sleep, and of course the boogeyman is not real. um, so yeah, I find it depends how clear your connection to the astral and your dream world is. So, for example, with children, they are new in this world, but they're still very connected to, the unseen realm, so to say. But then they get bombarded with this reality, and plus, they have TV and social media. So it's very hard for them to distinguish, what is actually real. And then at night, they mix all of that together and open portals, and things happen. And I find that a similar thing happens with adults when they haven't sorted out their emotions, or they're still at the beginning stage of um, you know learning energy work, so to say. But there's still a lot of emotional stuff going around. They don't know how to clear energetically their space or protect themselves and stuff like this. Then they're mixing the mental with the astral, and then dreams can be not really so reliable in terms if you want information or clear connection to something or someone. So yeah, it's a big topic and probably a bit too big to get into it because there's just so many facets to it. And yeah, I might just leave it with that.
Okay, that's great, and it's great that you mentioned about getting a good night's sleep too, because if you get in, like I found that it became slightly tyrannical. I could write 3 or 4 pages a day easy. That's the objective. What I saw, so you get good at picking up the fragments first thing in the morning, and then you sit down with your dream journal and your little scrap of paper from next to your bed or your little dictaphone, and you're writing them down, and then that little fragment, ping, opens up. And it's actually, I made a video on this on the channel about, using dream recall to train visualization, because you've already had an experience and all you're doing is recalling something that happened, rather than, say, trying to visualize something new that you haven't experienced before, you haven't gotten in your memory, in your field, whatever. But the dream is, and so by sort of cracking open through exploring dream fragments. But like I said, waking up exhausted like you've run a marathon gets a bit old, and and especially because a lot of the dreams, like you said, they can be just a lot of housekeeping from your psyche in a lot of cases too, that maybe don't really, I mean, they can give you the same thing from a bunch of different angles. But yeah, recognize, like you said, this is such a big topic. I guess what I'm going for here, and I'll pass this over to Nathan, and I'll just preface it with this and say, like, finding out where it's useful in practice, or whether it's just a nice thing where every so often you have a super vivid one that's maybe highly meaningful. Some of them are like really meaningful because they're like a very impactful experience. But on the flip side, it's like another rabbit hole as well that can just go on, and maybe not necessarily lead anywhere that is super functional, but doesn't mean there's still not some value in there. So Nathan, I would love to hear your take on, whether you have found dreams or dream practices to be valuable in any way.
I find typically active practices have almost always been not very fruitful for me. But within the scope of the greater practice, all of the stuff starts to happen. And that's usually how I find my way into these things, is not through attempting to do dream work, but usually in conjunction with your previous question about retreats. That was always how it would start, in terms of beginning to blur the distinctions between waking and sleeping, and what we might think of as being wakeful and then falling asleep into greater wakefulness, or waking up into greater sleepfulness. There's a whole bunch of weird paradoxes that start to occur. And this is not only subject to the dream state. I think like a lot of dream work you can look at as a really wonderful tool, but also not exclusive to being asleep in any way. And it's something that you start to be able to do in normal like meditation type practices, and then from that in normal living, as the skill keeps growing and as the tyrannical nature of the logical mind starts to give its scepter over to your spirit more and more and more. So you can have all of these like astral explorations, and you're burning off parts of you. A lot of people, when they sleep, there's physiological reasons for all this stuff, but I think often the physiological stuff is secondary and happens as a byproduct of some of the spiritual stuff working itself out. And so, as anyone who's done any Qigong would know, when you start moving astral energy around, especially if it's like in your body, you start to get hot, usually in the beginning. And so very often as we're falling asleep and during sleep, we start venting out a lot of these astral stagnancies. And that often just leaves as heat at night. And so you have this funny experience when most people start meditating, where the first few hours or whatever of, if you're going to practice all day, you're venting, you're cleansing essentially. And so one way of looking at dreams is a manner of cleansing and purification of astral stuff that's been going on. I found that the symbology of it, it appears much less for me. And I tend to have very similar, for the most part, types of experiences I do when like waking, when being awake and in practice, where it's everything is happening without the intermediary of the symbol, right? So the symbology is a means of like the idea, like a prime idea that's somehow trying to find its way into expression. But underneath the expression of the symbol is the thing that gives rise to the symbol. And so you can start to like talk, I say talk, but like communicate isn't really the right word either. But you start to experience with, as in, of that thing prior to the symbology. And so then you can take the symbology and use it as a tool backwards, right? Like, you know, back down the rabbit hole, into all the stuff. I found there's been some very interesting connections where, like, probably the easiest way to get started with dream work, if you're of a mentality like me, is when you wake up in the morning, there's a period of time, I think, Michael, you called it like the mists or something, when you were talking, where the logical mind jumps in, the identity mind jumps in, and you go, oh yeah, that's why I'm excited. That's why I'm depressed. Oh yeah, my knee's supposed to hurt. Oh yeah, like I'm supposed to feel heartbroken. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to be exhilarated. Oh, I forgot all that. Thank God I remembered that I'm supposed to be like whatever. And so there's this space prior to that before you pick up your identity. And if you can hang out in that space, there's a tremendous amount of work you can do there that is so much easier to do because you don't have the imprisoned nature of the identity of that logical mind, essentially entrapping the astral habits and whatnot into their habitual locations. And so you're in that timeless space starts to open up. And so you can start from an astral standpoint. It's free to move. So it's sometimes I use a metaphor of the identity being like a foot that's stepping on a bunch of dry leaves and the winds are blowing. If you take that identity foot off, the leaves can blow. They can move. And so in that space that before you pick up your identity, you can do a tremendous amount of liberative work, light work, healing work, whatever it is that you want to do, whether it be self-hypnotic or anything else, because your defenses are down. The part of you that needs to be separate is taken a hiatus. And so often in prayer, people touch into a similar space. And so you can use this type of before you pick up your identity thing in the mornings, for example, as a doorway to then start working back further and deeper and further and deeper. And anyone who's done a lot of meditation will, of course, go, oh yeah, I kind of know that space where you let go of yourself, and everything starts to be malleable and movable, and your reality becomes quite liquid or quite like gaseous and in different ways. Like the reality shifts and the substance of that reality can change, at least from an experiential standpoint. So in terms of entering, I think that's like the easiest way if you don't have the greatest success with trying to do exercises specifically and having them bear fruit. And once you get into this, you can spend, a lot of time in that, pre-waking up stage, just really, really drawing that out, pulling those moments apart. And then, of course, because you've spent that time in that place, you can return to it from a more wakeful state and see if you can re-enter that throughout the day, if that's what you want to work on. I guess that topic is done. If that's what you want to... I just broke my stand. I'm just going to reorganize you all onto the table.
Oh, good. Thank you, brother. That was very insightful.
Thank you for that insight, and your stand felt the power of
It's
that.
like, Nathan, you're rambling. Bang.
You know, you raised something really, really valuable there about, you know, this has been my experience too, is that, you know, when I started just doing meditation, just pure meditation, no energy work or anything like that, that kicked off that mobilized something which then I came to later understand the dreams, the intense dreams, as almost being a kind of a release that I was experiencing because I had mobilized something within my field, my mental field. And then when I started doing Qigong work and I started mobilizing these things, other things started to, what would you call, dislodge themselves. And I would experience that dislodgement process in dreams as well. You know, and they were just a fleeting moment or something like this. But I think you're right, you know, when you talk about the, you know, because when you go into a lucid dream, well, this is what I've found anyway, is that you can have a literal conversation with the dream environment. You can have dialogue with it. You can ask questions. And depending on on which layer of reality, you know, because it seems that in lucid dreaming that, you know, you could be talking almost with the body conscious level, and then you could be talking with the astral conscious level, and there may be something higher as well. It's sometimes hard to know. Like if I ask my dream person, like, you know, what's the most important thing to work on, some dude in a tank top with ripped dude will say, right, you need to go to the gym, bro. You know, and then another one will show up, you know, saying, bro, you need to go and get your tax sorted out or something like that.
You know what you need? You need to be more like me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right?
It's like me.
You know what your problem is? You're not me. My
Yeah,
favorite person, me.
yeah. It's like, man, my dreams are so judgy. It's like, yeah, okay, fair enough. But yeah, thanks, guys. That was really good. And yeah, like Manuela said, this is such a big topic. But I think, you know, just for you know, something that I found useful is that if you are on initiation into Hermetics pathway, and you are looking for information to help you with your soul mirror, then you can go into a lucid dream environment and it will understand, and you can talk to it and say, hey, you know, what's something that I'm not facing? You know, I've made my list, but is there anything I'm missing here? And that can be very upfront with things that maybe you don't want to know about or you're not willing to admit, depending on how intense you want to get. This is something I've found to be quite useful because you get a level of honesty that maybe you don't get in your conscious state as a starting point. Okay, so thank you, guys. Now, I just want to say once again, thank you to everyone in the chat. Please put your questions up if you've got anything. I've got another question here in regards to... Oh, this is a nice one. So we'll start this one with Manuela. How have your motivations for practice changed over time? You know, what may have started you on the path may have evolved. I think this is, for myself, is something that constantly evolves. I'm interested in these practices, but sometimes I feel a pull towards, I've got a new reason for doing it, or I've got a new energy or a momentum or an impetus or something that makes me want to do a specific aspect of it more. Or I don't know. I'm just going to ask you, Manuela, you know, like, how have your motivations for practice changed over time?
Well, I guess it's sort of like just evolved over time, different going through different stages. Like, obviously a long time ago, I was, a qualified physiotherapist, and I was not spiritual at all. Like, even meditation was just some, woo woo the people in the forest, love and light people would do. And then, I sort of like just almost like started to wake up. I had some experiences where I was like, oh my God, like, what is that? That's not possible. And then, just the curiosity, I guess, and then just wanting to know more. And I guess the curiosity always stayed with me, but also sort of like the analogical mind, like, how real is this? How true is this? Like, not just taking everything like, okay, if somebody said this for truth, I would be like, oh, you know. My sort of like scientific mind would come in and really go, what's the background about this, you know, sort of like yeah, looking into more facts, so to say, as well. And um yeah, I guess the curiosity still stayed, or to always like be that student, so to say, to want to know more, to be have an open mind. And initially it was almost like a spiritual FOMO, you know. I wanted to know this, and explore it all and experience it all. And um, and then as you practice, you sort of like get some insight, you get some realizations. And then it's more about, I guess, sort of like it's almost like a relationship rather than just something mental. Because as you
Mm.
go through your day, you know, your environment always reflects what is going on inside you, or what is happening energetically to you. So, you know, if your motorbike or your car get dinged, that means actually somebody's attacking you in the astral. And then it's good to, you know, tune in to listen. Or you're walking through the streets, and all of a sudden, you know, you notice your energy has shifted, you're not feeling great. And then knowing how to read the energy, you know, what were my thoughts, what are the shops around, what are the people around, are there any, you know, natural cleansing mechanisms around, or what energy is present. And it's sort of like that everyday life to, I guess, engage in everything, read everything that's happening. Like yesterday, we went snorkeling to the shipwreck, and it was just amazing, you know. And then engaging with the fish, you know, and you're getting the fish to come, and making connections. I guess that if you can get onto that because everything is, you know, frequency, vibration. So if you can get onto that frequency, like, yeah, things happen. And it's sort of my curiosity for, I guess, for life, for the unseen realm, meeting new beings, with traveling around. You know, you're sleeping in different hotel rooms, you always have interesting spirits pop in. And those experience just yeah, the richness of life. And also staying connected with friends that you can share ideas and experiences.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. That was lovely. Michael, how have your motivations for practice changed over time?
Well,
And have
that's
they? Sorry.
yeah, that's a very big question, probably triple loaded there. So let's have a look at it from the beginning. When I first started this work, obviously I had a martial arts background, and the the main thing I believe meditation was a very good rescue tool for calming the mind, dealing with a lot of emotional pressures in society and from family and peer groups and many other aspects that would come along, depending on where other people come from. But what it did for me, it did change over the period of time. As rather than just being the student meditating, you become the teacher. Then, you know, obviously the master of the teacher of the, you know, but you're still always the student, and you're also very quite humbled with it. The beauty is I've found to go deeper into the physical body and the astral body, because within the physical body in the meditation, I'm finding that a galaxy within itself, into the cells, into the vessels, people regenerating wounds from the past. They can remove a lot of their own trauma, family karmic aspects. Big stuff gets moved. But there's many different aspects that, you know, have been put on the table here, because one can connect with nature in a beautiful way. Like, once again, we were snorkeling yesterday, and once again, trying to explain the experience is like trying to pour an ocean into a teacup and present it to somebody. You're connecting to infinite life force there with the fishes. You're in a Zen meditative state. Uh, you're physically there, but you're also going into very deep, uncharted waters. It's you know, quite challenging. It can be mentally for people and emotionally. However, in the training, you just stay relaxed, and no matter what happens, you're in a safe space because you chose this experience. It's going to be all right, without going into any of the old mechanisms of fear or panic or, you know, hyperventilation or anxiety or overanalysis. Just be there. Other areas where the training has changed, when I have a very engineering, construction based background. Working with tools and equipment, I become very much at one with things. You can see if something's out with your eye. You can pick up any tool and you move into the energy of it. Remember, even though it's a mechanized piece of equipment, you become at one with the copper and wiring, the brush. The whole tool becomes a part of you, like a sword or a magical weapon, as it were. So the practice, it keeps enhancing, it keeps exhilarating. Once again, the meditations I've been doing with some of the advanced practitioners, we go into atomic structures, we move into metal intelligences such as advanced metals like platinums and iridiums and things like this. So you're becoming at one with organic, which would normally be inanimate objects. So the discipline keeps growing, and I'm still the student. I'm still that young inquisitive explorer. And this is, once again, it ties back neatly into the dream states and the meditation experiences. Once again, you have an empathic aspect, as you would with nature on many levels, as well as you have to work in societies or systems. Okay, for example, I go into I work in the middle of the desert. I'm in an underground mine. I'm working on a bridge, and this is actual experiences that I've had. Or even a machine. I immediately tap into it. It's like an instant communication, just like I'm talking to a pet. Okay, what is wrong with you? Okay, what is right with you? What is okay? I get this analysis, and as soon as you do this, it makes the whole experience a lot more dynamic. It's like the energy of all the molecular structure wants to communicate with you. Then this sounds like absolute crazy science fiction, but this is the kind of world that one can touch when one's been developing, opening up their hands, not just building energy in the hands, but going through all the elements individually in the hands and the feet. So you get an advanced grounding aspect that you can communicate into nature. Nature's obviously putting up all these plants and things that some people see as poisons, but others as medicines. So as you walk on nature, she's already putting the things out that you need, that is for your body. It's the same as, the metaphors in the astral where the soul is saying, have a look at this. This might be very important for you in the coming days, or this is what's been happening to you. So once again, I think that the practice has become a lot more involved, and it's become my own world as well as I communicate out. As I go further out of the planetary aspects, I go deeper internally as well. So it's that aspect of as within, so without, as without, so within. You are always at that sort of center point. You're in two places at once. And this is, once again, where I believe more advanced techniques come in, where we're working in multiverses or multiple dimensions. And it's not just limited to the nature of this planet, but it's advanced intelligences and principles and many of the other realms as well. So the practices just kept growing and moving, and I'm astounded at it. Still surprises me, and where I thought you get to that point, oh, nothing's going to surprise me because your awareness is 360, 24/7. It's not. You're always going to find another surprise. There's always one more weirdo. There's always one more crazy animal you've never seen. Like, oh wow! Or wow, is that tree talking? Is that statue talking to me? What? How can that be? So I believe that's a very healthy way of being, like the let's say the advanced ancient adept, and yet you're the young boy, the young person that's experiencing that. It builds a beautiful wealth of life generation.
Wonderful, thank you. What a beautiful, engaging response there. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think this is. I can't see how this isn't a lifelong thing. I've had fluctuations in my own, not interest. I think it's been sometimes. You spend so much time with something, but there's so much more. I think Mark Rasmus said it quite well. You get to that point, you let it go so you can keep rising up. You can find that there's more. I mean, some shiny things on the adventure are repeatable, but they are also, it's time to move on from them. But like you said, there's always surprises. And this is the real fruit for myself. The further I climb up the tree, the sweeter the fruit gets. Nathan, sir, I would very much love to hear your take on this particular question. How have your motivations for practice changed over time?
Yes, my microphone's on. Substantially, just night and day. I think in the beginning, most people who start, especially like Michael, I started with the martial arts side of the path, and you enter martial arts to learn to control the environment around you, to manipulate the environment around you, right? That's how you stay safe. That's how you orchestrate space, and you learn about space, you learn about distance, you learn about time, you learn about sensitivity and bodies and all these things. And typically the motivations to enter martial arts are coming from some of the worst places. And like many who enter the martial arts, then of course, maybe you find internal martial arts and martial arts that have some aspects of Qigong, whether it's Tai Chi or, ninjutsu or whatever, the list goes on. And so you start to learn about subtle body mechanics and subtleties of mind. And if you think weak, somehow that lock gets you. If you think strong, somehow you manage to get through that. And so you start to learn about, in a sideways manner, you start to learn about the potencies of the mental body, the potencies of the astral body, the fields, physical, all of it starts to open up. But in the beginning, almost anyone who starts anything is looking for ways of manipulating the environment around them. And over time, that starts to hopefully subside. And so I've found there's probably one thing that is a constant is that curiosity and wonderment. And that's something that's been with me since I was a child. And this sort of the magic of everything. And I don't know why. It's not something I've ever cultivated. But when I meet these rare people who also have that wonderment, like Michael said, there might be some weirdo, like a statue that's talking to you. Michael, you were one of those weirdos that I was like, oh, that thing's talking. and people you meet that open doors, experiences that you have that open doors. And this comes down to your awareness. Like Manu was mentioning that, you're walking through just your day-to-day experience and you start looking at like the physical symbology, almost the like in a dream, but these physical symbologies of like, oh, what could be happening in the energetic scape, in the astral landscape, in the mental landscape. And if you are too preoccupied, because she mentioned really eloquently about like mindfulness, being aware of the energy, like in real time, not mindfulness just on your cushion, but real time mindfulness, and you start to notice these things more and more and more and more. And so there's an excitement there, and you start to unwrap the depths of your meditation in your moment by moment experience, right? To the depths of whatever the practice is. So I've found that this wonderment and curiosity seems to be one of the key things for people who continue in a positive way along the path, right till they're ripe and young, like Mr. Lamb there. As you continue on with this, it's the curiosity, it's that wonderment. And that's been one of those key things. So instead of, say, trying to obsess over particular practices and condense yourself into parameters of what a particular skill might mean or what a particular attainment might mean and all this stuff that we can only look at it from below it, right? From at it or above it, it's meaningless. But we look at everything from below and we go, oh my God, that amazing thing, clairvoyance and this and that, the other stuff. And then you start to have like claircognizant and telepathic experience, and you're like, oh, shut up. Right? Like all this stuff that we think of from beneath as such an exciting thing, it's just part of reality. It's just part of what's happening. And I had one of my first meditation teachers once told me that he said that there's this really sad thing that's going to happen is you're going to do all this practice, all this training, and the saddest thing, you're going to, all these interesting things and changes will happen and like skills and whatever. And the saddest thing is you won't even realize it because you're in it every single day. And so you don't have the differential to be aware, right? Differentiation is what makes awareness possible, is separation. That's how we perceive the difference between one thing and another thing, through differentiation. And so what's cool with the curiosity thing is different things light up. And as Michael was saying, you walk into nature and you can practice the elements in isolation with some fabricated notion of what the elements might be, with some fabricated feeling perception of what earth energy is, what water energy is, what this element, that element, what stuff is. Or you can go like walk barefoot on some earth and you're walking on the earth element. Yet you're also walking on the water element, and you are the water element, and you are the earth element. And you start to breathe. You're like, oh man. And you're breathing. Oh, what's that? I guess that's the air element. But you're walking on the air element, and you are the air element, and you're breathing the air element. And you look at the leaves and the foliage, and like, oh, well, that's breathing the air element. I'm breathing the air element. When I breathe in, am I also breathing out as that foliage, as that tree? And so you start to break open these Akashic barriers through the very, foliage themselves. You spark open the fire element with photosynthesis, and that takes you back into the earth element through the sugar creation, all this stuff. And it's just on and on and on. So there's all these different sort of nerdy ways of looking at things that start to open up. And it's that interconnection and the constant, like, there's the two sides of it. There's the constant next thing, more expansive thing, whether that's expansive outward or inward. At the same time, there's the space in which, or the non-space in which, the truth in which all of that stuff exists and happens, which we could look at from a like Tibetan Buddhist perspective as like, the Dharmakaya, the Sambhogakaya, and the Nirmanakaya, the truth space, the that bliss light space, and then the appearance space. And so you're looking at like Michael was saying, atomics, and like I have so much respect. Like Michael flipped me on to so many things that I was just like, what the what the. I went to one of your, just shameless plug for you guys, I went to one of Michael's Tree of Life workshops, and I sat down, I was like, what the fuck? like what is all this nonsense? And then the days go by, and I couldn't deny the change. It was undeniable. The change in literal tissue quality of every single person there, like at the tissue level, which means the astral level was pretty crazy, and the mental that much more so, because usually the change is harder to manifest the closer into form it goes. So as you're working with appearance and all of these shiny different curiosities and excitements, you're also working through that Dharma Dhatu, that truth space, that truth world, that truth body, and you're always working both, and it's constantly growing. And so I find that whether I'm super excited about some particular new aspect of research or new frequency play, or you're working with a being and doing deity yoga, and it's like, hey, check out this cool thing, and it just runs a bunch of stuff through you, and you're like, yo, that is dope. I wonder if I can do that again. Immediate error. Let's try to reproduce something. So whether it's that or the total dislodging of everything that we think of as us that makes us in our own brains human or not or whatever. There's always everything and everything and nothing. End of thought, period. Back to you, Phil.
Oh, dude, yeah, I was getting lost in there. I was getting mesmerized by the thing. I have to say, encountering new information, anytime I catch myself going, oh, this is going to be a load of crap or something, I'm like going, right, in that case, I'm going to put myself in it, unless I really know it's going to be crap. But, but then it's still Judgy McJudgeson here. But yeah, I really liked what you said there about wonderment and curiosity. That's the fuel for life for myself, and cool things to explore. There's a lot of interesting things in the world too. Oh my gosh, can't wait to get back on the plane, But the inner world's pretty amazing too, and being able to just go into the backyard under a tree and just say hi to a myriad of beings at whatever level of reality, however microscopic or macroscopic, it's pretty interesting. Okay, where are we? All right, so now, here we go. Here's a nice, easy, fast one that should be a bit of fun. And this one I'm going to give back to Michael, and I'm going to say single book recommendations for beginners. Now, I'm going to preface this with, let's say somebody's gone, right, okay, I found this Initiation into Hermetics book, and I'm gonna get stuck in. And are there any good companion books or complementary books? It doesn't even have to be like a companion book specifically for Barden or that, but is there anything that you've come across, Michael? Like, if you could only recommend one book on top of someone's copy of IIH, I know it's a hard one because there's so many gems out there. But and obviously everyone needs a little something different or wants a little something different. But what would you suggest if somebody said, give me a quick and dirty on it?
Oh, Jesus. Do you want the short answer or the long answer? And
Well,
it's like
we've got a bit of time.
I'll see you next month.
Beginner is like there's beginners of the spiritual pathway, but that's just a plethora of energy light workers. But once they sort of hit IH, it's another kettle of ballparks, as it were. It's like, what the hell? So we've
nice wordplay, bro.
We've changed sports. We've also removed the goalposts. We're now doing some sort of look. There was a really helpful book when I first started in my early 20s. That was very helpful, but it might be too basic. But it was really good. It was by Richard Bach, and it was called The Book of Illusions. And it's about the story about a reluctant Messiah. And Richard wrote that book after Jonathan Livingston Seagull, which is another interesting book. These are very quite light, but they're very good about the manifestation of something from a master's point of view as a person that has the doubt, that how can you possibly land a plane in that? You know what I mean? All the first things, the shortcomings, as Nathan pointed out before, and also Manuela, the things start to become quite normal, that which was almost alien to you. It's quite an easy book to read. There's only about 100 odd pages in that. I should mention another book, but I don't know. I don't want to steal your thunder too, but there are some very clever books. The ones that connect the dots after Initiation Hermetics, because in some ways, like, I've been doing so much of Barden's work before I actually, got the books, and I found it's quite, there's some complicated writing in that book. No doubt about that. And I'm definitely knocking Barden's genius in what he had to bring forward. However, the writing's quite it's so full of warnings. It's so full of all these precarious things. Whereas embracing the joy of happiness within oneself, how many books, all these self-help books. I mean, you just go to the library or a bookshop and there's just this whole corner of all these ways to manifest this or do this or whatever. So it's going to be relevant to the person. As I said, I'll stick with illusions. It's nice and simple, but it may seem a little basic after Initiation Hermetics, but it may help you with the manifestation of the most complicated things in a very, very simple way. And it's quite an old book. Well, not old. It's just one of those books that doesn't die out. I've had about 7 or 8 copies. I've given them out, and then you lose them, and then suddenly they sort of magically appear. It's just this little book like that. So I'll stick with that one just for my single one. Okay.
Yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate it. No, I make it. Look, hey, these topics are vast, and and so, one restriction training, giving like parameters like this is like just,
yeah,
it's
it's sorry.
No, it's all good. Like I have to do this with myself, otherwise I just float off. And so, yeah. Thank you so much, brother. Okay, so that was the Book of Illusions by Richard Bach. Okay. Thank you, sir. All right. Manuela, have you got a book recommendation that you'd like to share?
The Four Agreements from Don Miguel Ruiz. I probably pronounced his name wrong.
I know the book well, yes.
Yes. In my early journey, I found that a quite helpful book for sort of like clarity and emotional freedom, and sort of like getting a bit of a structure without going too much into, energy work or spirituality as such, even though it's like right into it. So.
Yeah, that was a good book too. Like you said, I think there's these intellectually sort of formed phrases, or these intellectual phrases, or these words that we can read. It's like precepts and Reiki, for example. They're essentially a set of releases, and there's a reason why they keep getting parroted by the teachers and that, or they don't even get enough, in my view, to be honest. Like they're just kind of a thing that you do for a bit and then whatever. But it's like, having some, like those 4 agreements. So they're just like 4 simple phrases or precepts, and they're just beautiful because they just cover so many aspects of life. And I think that there's, obviously so much pressure in the modern day for conformity, for, what is it? How many choices in a day do you make to avoid some kind of punishment or some kind of action that you may be judged for? You're always looking over, who's looking over my shoulder now, sort of thing, And so these are very liberating. But yeah, when you've got 4 bullet points, like the 4 agreements, and then you've got the elaborated understandings next to them, I found that to be a very helpful book. And like you said, especially for releasing an emotional release, that was very helpful. Thank you for that, Manuela. And Nathan, canst thou present us with a single title for the benefit?
I don't know if I can speak so Shakespearean. I think. All right, I'm going to approach this from a different angle. I found that the most value I've ever gotten from any book is retroactive, in the sense that it comes after the practice, after the training. And so you read something and it's confirmatory to your experience. It's like a type of validation that, oh yeah, like that I'm kind of on the right track with this particular avenue of these things. And so it's more like chatting at that point with friends who are on the path, or teachers on the path, than it is trying to learn a thing. Because like Barden's initiation book is phenomenal, for what it is. It's a really good book, and sets the groundwork for a really thorough, it's a very thorough jumping ground that it sets up, right? It's just a trampoline that can send you in so many different directions, which is what you want out of any initiation, is not to be at the top of that, ladder of chakras or whatever, for there to be a mirror that goes, hey, you can't get through this mirror. You have to spend time, just the rest of your life is only what you did. You want it to be the opposite, where you get to that point and bang, you're off to the races. So because you're reading books at that point from more of a an open perspective, you're not locked into the writing and you're not locked into the author, and you don't have any identity and ego that's stuck in what you're reading. Because so often, for anyone who's teaching, who's a teacher, or who's, writing books or whatever, people come up to you and they go, oh, like, I love that thing that you said about blah, blah, blah. I really like that. And cool, but it's also the thing that's going to hold you back because you like it so much. And it's not about disliking it or about being indifferent. Those are as equally like, error-filled potentials. But the more awareness you develop, the more you can see how things are affecting you on different planes. So you read a particular passage or you hear someone say something, and it cracks open a part of you that you didn't realize was locked, right? And this can be like one thing that I loved about Michael Lamb's teaching was the what he called the wordsmithing, right? And so he starts using words and being very playful with words. And initially listening to someone talk like that, I was like, oh, just another one of those people who says a bunch of words to sound cool and smart, and, oh, I said this, but it also means this. But then I started looking into what we might call like the mechanics of how that functions, and the freedom that it offers from a standpoint of the mental mind, we might say, to look at your habits of meaning and break that, right? It breaks it, and then that frees you, so that those words become a doorway. Something I say all the time these days is anything is or can be a doorway to everything, right? And so you can look at a piece of writing, and that has the potential to crack you open, if possible, into the Akasha. And if that's done well, and there's a touch of some directionality with the light, then bang, like, that's a pretty profound piece of writing. So what you read or the books that might be recommended, in my opinion, is really dependent upon the person. And any good teacher will recommend different books to different people based off where they're at. Because if you recommend a certain book to somebody and they're not ready for it, there's literally no point in reading it. It's going to do more harm than good. And all you have to do is look at any of the Franz Barden groups on Facebook or any other platform to go, oh, maybe you ain't ready to be reading this yet because of the questions that you're asking, right? And they say oh, there's no such thing as a stupid question. Well, maybe. Maybe there is. But also, maybe every question needs to be looked at as a blockage. The questions are representations of blockages, of all of that in you that is not of everything. So the question is just a doorway to that. And when you're reading a book, if they're wherever that ego sparks up, whether it's in confusion, what's confusion? Right? That's a really cool question to look at. What is confusion? Meditate on that. What does it mean to be confused? And why do we think it's a bad thing? And what are the potentials in there? And when you use that word magic to start cracking open or cracking people into confusion, and then through that, there's groundlessness, and through that absence of referentiality, you again have an Akashic doorway. And so I still haven't given you a title yet. And that's because I can't, because it's different for everybody. At a certain stage, you can read the most nonsensical Zen-esque writings of poetry, and it's oh yeah, obviously. Instead of, oh, so confusing, why do they say all this stuff that doesn't make any sense, and blah, 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 right? They're just, anyone can write in a nonsensical way and sound confusing, but no, it's from the space of from a vaster viewpoint, from a non-dual viewpoint, you look at that and it's oh, obviously, that's so cool, right? And so it's different for everyone at different stages, and I wish I could offer you a one-off title, but I can't. Maybe I'll write a book one day, then I'll just recommend that to everybody.
Well, thank you
Sorry.
for that. No,
Back to
you're
you,
all good,
Phil.
brother. That's all good. That's all good. Look, hey, look, I try to keep the questions reasonably generic to allow for a widening of the scope of opportunity for feedback. And I think, when I consider this question, because it's not like, oh yeah, this is an easy one. It's like even me trying to think about this is going, well, far out. What would I say? Uh, and you rightly touch on the fact that different horses for different courses. Not everyone's going to get the same thing, and a lot of retroactive reading is where the value presents itself. But that initial first pass over a text can remind us later on as well. Oh, that's right, that came up in there. I remember when somebody lent me Fingerprints of the Gods by Graham Hancock, and it was 10 years later before I started meditating. And then I got burnt out as a musician and a music teacher. And then I was like, what do I want to do now? Because I was like, well, I already had the coolest job in the world, I thought. Now I don't know what to do. And then I started watching YouTube for things other than funny videos, and I started researching ancient civilizations. That initial book suggestion from a friend got me onto a path. It was interesting back then, but later on, retroactively, I went back and was like, wow, this is actually like some next level stuff. I have to say that working with kids, especially in my time, anytime someone would suggest something, I'd tend towards some kind of timeless story fiction that has stories woven into it. I recently did a reread of the Raymond E. Feist book, Magician, and I've got his brand new latest book. It came in the library, and there's a lot of fan service in the latest book. But even those older books, he he knew some stuff, and he was getting feedback from people. And it's just, when you've got the story or the exercises woven into a fictional piece or some kind of allegory or metaphorical story, I find these to be quite helpful too, because there's a lot of teachings woven into story narratives as well. So that's just quickly my thing. I mean, if I was going to offer a book, I'd say, uh, like you said, like too much intellectual or too much information you're not ready for, and what are the questions in that. I think those texts that have got layers of understanding or codifications within them, so you can read them at various layers, just like how the Bible can be read at various layers as well. So there's something. It's like, here we go, classic one, The Simpsons. Back in the day, everyone used to be able to get something out of that. Even the parents would be like, "Are kids watching this show?" There was this kind of thing. Although I don't know what's going on nowadays. But anyway, I just want to say, guys, we're at the 90-minute mark, and we haven't had any questions from the panel, the live chat. So I'm guessing they're all completely enamored with the conversation. And so what I thought we'd do is that I've got one more question that I really want to ask you three, because something highly valuable, I think, to the people that would be watching this, especially afterwards when we chop it up into clips and share it out. I wanted to we'll do this next question, and then if there's no more questions, we'll start wrapping up and we'll go through your tiles and the websites and things like that. So do a plug. So what really wanted to get to here is, and we'll start with Manuela on this, if I could please. What are some common pitfalls or traps for students that you've noticed in your time that you think you can share, comfortable to share, that may help some people so that they can have, I'm not going to say a soft landing into practice, but maybe we can save people some time, and avoid unnecessary sorts of implications. So, Manuela, would you like to comment on this, please, sister?
I guess one of the common pitfalls I noticed is that people try to sort of like go into that whole spiritual journey with the mind, so to lead the journey from the mind, which is, if you look at our upbringing, it's quite understandable, because from a very young age you get told to think about this, and you're very forced into working everything out with the mind. And So a lot of people try to approach spirituality or the energy work in the same way, that they have to understand it mentally, when it's actually more a soul, a spiritual, and a feeling work that they have to do, rather than working it out from the mind. And so sometimes it's good to, in that sense, to literally just step back and connect with yourself, connect with your body, with literally your soul, your spirit, and sort of like leave that mind out. And also people try to rush it. They compare themselves to other people, and then they want to be there, and they want to be able to do this as well. And it's almost like, sort of like in a classroom setting, you want to be the first one in the class, or you want to finish on great grades. And it doesn't work that way, because everybody is different, everybody's journey, everybody's experience is different. Your energetic blueprint, your connections are different. And so comparing yourself to anybody, no matter where they are, is not really that beneficial. And also rushing it, that they rush over very often over the foundations, because they want to do all this high end work, working with beings, when they actually haven't gotten a solid foundation. They haven't sorted out their emotions or the elements. They don't know how to work properly with their soul, their spirit. They never work with the monad. So yeah, I guess as a tip, just to slow down, get the mind out of the way, don't compare yourself, don't rush it, and have breaks, take time off, do it in your own pace.
Wonderful, thank you. Some great information there. I'm going to give this back over to Nathan. Nathan, you were hot on the topic before, and we'll finish with Michael. Nathan, what are some common pitfalls or traps for students that you've noticed in your time?
You got me?
I've got you.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear
Cool.
you.
I was just plugging in, charging the phone. So anyway, got the headphones in again. Common pitfalls. I mean, everything. Like, what isn't a pitfall? What's that saying everyone likes to throw around? Like, you can't solve a problem from the place that it's created or whatever. And we almost every single spiritual system, was the question about? Yeah, I guess sort of. Almost every single system that exists starts you from the point of the problem, right? Every religion out there starts from the point of the problem, not from the point of the solution, or from what is beyond problems and solutions. And that makes things really tricky, because everything from that point onwards helps to create some really shiny, like, self-idolatry as you're progressing, right? It's like I remember Manu was saying, like, sort of comparing and whatever. I remember the first meditation retreat that I did, there was like a proper, silent retreat. And you're sitting 12 hours a day. And, I was like, I'm not using any cushions, not putting any cushions under my knees, because, I can hold myself up. Who? Me. And I remember, like, chatting with the teacher, like 6-7 days in. I was like, oh, I'm just so tired. Body's so exhausted. And he was like, like, you can put some cushions under your knees, or like get a backrest or something. And I was like, I'm not a pussy. No, I can't. He's like, listen, you don't get any, like, smiley face star stickers next to your name at the end of this for not putting cushions under your knees. And I was like, no. So it's like, what was I building over the course of those 10 days? A hyperinflated ego, and how, like, strong and how well I could resist my own fatigue, and it's like everything everything that you do, everything that you think, and every possible way that you try to figure out what you're doing, everything is a pitfall until everything isn't, because you aren't. So that would be my advice. You are the pitfall, and until you're not, everything is a pitfall because you're doing it. And when you aren't the pitfall, then everything isn't the pitfall because you aren't the pitfall. He said uneloquently, if that makes any sense, right? So it's like, what are you going to do? Hope that eventually your path that you happen to be on leads you beyond your path. And that's what I was saying, like in the previous monologue on books, about like there being that mirror that shines back down. You don't want that, right? And hopefully your path can take you to that. And then instead of it being a mirror, it isn't, and it's something else, and you can keep going. So yeah, sort your shit out. Take less pride in yourself and in what you're doing. And including less pride in sorting your shit out, because that's like one of the most hilarious things. Like anyone who's teaching, like you have, it's like one of the reasons I stopped doing healing specific work is because people walk in and so proudly tell you about their problems, and it's, you know, oh, I'm navigating this, oh, I let go of this, oh, I'm working with like my this issues, my that issues. Who is? Me. Who's working with you? Whose issues? Me working with my issues. So anyway, yeah, I think that's sort of it. You're the pitfall. Get over that, and things will change. Back to you, Phil.
So we'll run that one through the chat GPT and see if we can translate it into something. I'm kidding.
Into something
No, that
inhuman.
was great. That was great. I love it because you're swinging out of left field here, and it's going to prompt people to think a little differently. And I think, what people are expecting potentially from a question is sometimes not actually like a bullet point followed by a paragraph. It's actually a reframing of the situation in a way that they haven't thought of before. And that, I think, is also one of the fruits of life, is that, you know, you go and ask the teacher a question and he gives you a koan or something like this. Like, what? And it's like, and then he's like, exactly. I don't understand. Exactly. And so thank you for that, Nathan. I think. So anyway, I'm going to pass this on.
Exactly, Phil. Exactly.
Case in point, right there. I think. Anyway, Michael, would you like to following? That might be a tough one to follow for anyone. But Michael is
If
a man
anyone
of many,
can follow
many
it, Michael can follow
yeah,
it.
that's why I wanted to leave Michael to last. Yes, Michael, we're going to give you the last words for the final topic of the day, which is what are some common pitfalls or traps for students that you've come across in your time, or that you can see, or however you would like to comment on this, sir. Thank you.
Wow, no. Like I said, it's so much. It's a very, excuse me, it's a massive area. And it actually brings me a lot of joy actually bringing it up, because I've seen it in the classrooms and the teachers, and plus, going to other different systems and schools. I've been in arenas before, massive arenas of teachers and things like this. Oh my goodness, I get a lot of I suppose joy out of it, because I've sort of seen the weakness of myself or others there. And you get the student that's going to build the akasha, I'm going to do that, exactly. I'll lose my personality doing it, but that'll be fine, and that's a big one that tends to become quite obvious. People become, I'm going to be so spiritual, I'm so spiritual, I talk like this now, and I don't do this, and everyone else is. I've seen that they become the spiritual monster. And there's, oh God, there's another one I've seen. People, once again, they're sitting in that posture. I've got to sit in this particular mudra posture, so straight, for the 2 hours or the 4 hour lecture or whatever it is. And they'll be sitting in front of the toilet or the bathroom, and people do have to go to the toilet and the bathroom, because they're drinking a lot of water. And they're so obsessed with this posture or this particular energy that they've got to work with, that they become weird. I mean, incredibly weird. I mean, everyone in the room is strange. Okay, no worry about that. But the point is, they've come to this level of truth that they're going to be this. I find it particularly like this with spiritual groups, and they're so obsessed with a teacher, or martial arts groups are so obsessed with a teacher that they're trying to do it this way and they're trying to do it that way. So big pitfalls are lack of self-awareness, or actually getting comfortable in their skin is a big thing, because you're going to face you every morning. You're going to be changing anyway. I mean, it's just like the cells in my body just changed in the last few seconds. That's a natural thing. It's an ongoing process. There's no race. There's no rhythm. Once again, you watch the super so to be disciplined person, and they can get humbled in seconds. And it's not about that particular amusement. It's just they're so obsessed. They're not actually assessing what's the greater benefit of being very calm, very relaxed, and seeing the humor of the gods amongst the play here. And they tend to miss the real subtleties that they're going to build a kasha in 1,000 hours or something like this, and that I'll just build that, and it's hilarious to see it. And it just, I'm going to be this, and oh, brilliant, yeah, no worries. Yet, they have no understanding of, let's say, Barden's magic mirror or something like this. Yet, if you looked at them at the magic mirror, it's basically your bloody phone or your computer top. That's what it is. It's a portal into things. And once you get very accurate with it, things will come into you, as it were, as you think it. I mean, remember we used to mention things in front of a phone. Now I'm getting a bit off topic, but now you don't even have to mention it. You just think it. It's already on your phone, or it's already on your laptop, or something like that. So that's how.
For that.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of the nanobots and microplastics and nanofood. Oh, he's a conspiracy theorist. He's a conspiracy. The way that people react to these sort of things, rather than integrating, well, that's quite possible. I can put that on my shelf. I'll look at that. Another thing is they become so obsessed, like Nathan was mentioning about, I've got to tell you my issues. I was watching for 7 years, and my father fed me biscuits. Thanks. So I got to run this class now on ancient civilizations and magnetism. But thanks for sharing that. What kind of biscuits were they? There's a lot.
What's your great line, Michael? You have that great line, like, I can't talk right now, I'm driving.
Yeah, exactly. And people would share the deepest, and I'd be packing up after an event. I've just done some presentation on pyramids, or and how they have deflection of weather or something like this, and it's quite out there. And you're packing up the projector and putting your gear away rather than helping you. They're sharing these deep, intimate details with you. It's hilarious. Let the teacher back up and just find a time to be present with the question. It's exactly the same with the meditation or any of the books you're reading. What's really going on there? And I'm quite a complex person. Everyone wants to see things quite simply, which is wonderful. I like to see things simply. However, there's a depth to ourselves that's quite complex, and there's many layers to ourselves. And as soon as we start healing, so say trauma or past energy, or we see that connection, that's quite a relevant thing. It's like, oh, wow, they laid the pyramids out to star systems. Oh, wow. That just questions the entire history narrative or the mainstream or something like this. Yes, the mainstream lies to you, and it's really good at doing that because that's part of the thing. So look at the depth of what's quite subtle. This world, and we're generally told it goes far beyond the scope of your particular thoughts and programming. You're going to get, confronted. So the confrontation, you can't let that last too long. It's like, okay, if that's that, then that's that. Let's have a look at how, we adapt to the pitfall and think, okay, I messed up. I stuffed up, whatever. Just get over it. You're going to have to do it because you're going to get presented with these many, many times a day. I had a process myself as a pitfall, was always overthinking things, how to fix things. If someone, lied or messed up or did something wrong or whatever, you're going to have to just get over it and adapt, because adaptability and flexibility is the way through things. Another thing people think we're on this linear timeline. It's a massive thing that blocks people in their spiritual progress. And understand it's accessible at many, many levels. And, moving into fourth and fifth level consciousness and density of consciousness, that you can enter these timelines at different layers and levels. And it's a far greater process to go over, becoming an adept at things and then still hanging on to these values of this religion or these values of this philosophy. They work for you fine. You want to be the multi-adaptable person that moves through different disciplines, but rather than saying, oh, I'm the greatest builder of this energy, I've read this and I've read that, and I go to all these seminars and things like that, that's awesome. But you've got to be able to get value out of that. And the value is what you take away. You want that takeaway, like the end of this show. It's like, what's the takeaway? What do people get out of that? They want to see simplicity, but also there's joy in it as well. There's a lot of good things that are being brought up, rather than insecurity's been brought up again and again. Because just because it's a spiritual group doesn't mean you're not going to be sitting there suffering in silence, with your own insecurities. So have a look at getting yourself into order before you go to any kind of retreat thing. Have a look at just say, I'm going to have a really good time. Program the outcome, be in a space where at least you put some energy in there for the best results for your own internal workings, as it were. That's I suppose the nutshell for pitfalls. I've got plenty of stories to share, heaps. It's like I've seen people just, oh gosh, I remember I got another one. I won't go there. I'll keep it for the novel, the book.
Well, hey, look, these are, like I said, they're simple questions, but when if I was asked this as a guitar teacher or as a music teacher 10 years ago, I'd probably give a similar response. It's like, well, there's so many variations on this, but there is, like you said, I find that canvassing the various communities as I have over the years, I would say it's probably more attitudinal and behavioral stuff that stops people making progress. That's just my own personal view as well. I think everyone's sort of capable at some level of making progress if they choose to. I think that sometimes the circumstances end up becoming an easy thing to sort of bypass personal responsibility. But hey, like we all get to ride this situation how we do. And
Hey, Phil,
yes,
can I tag one more thing on there?
Sure.
So there's in let's say Vajrayana Buddhism and a number of systems, they have a graduated path, right? And they also look at students as very bluntly, as there's students of low capacity, students of medium capacity, and students of high capacity, which is funny. And also, in some sense true. So from the standpoint of a teacher, and this, right back to your book question and stuff, it's like, okay, what is the capacity of this person right now? So when it comes to pitfalls, trying to, punch harder than you can punch, or trying to bite off more than you can chew, and whatever metaphors you want to throw on top of that, come up with your own. There's this thing of trying to do more than where you're at. Manu mentioned going back to the foundations at some point during this last 2 hours, and without limiting yourself to going back to the foundations, from these graduated paths, if you look at the foundation practices in the Vajrayana, they're really simple, but they take care of some good stuff, prostrations, 100,000 prostrations. There was some Lama who did so many, his retreats were prostrations on stone, and he burnt his imprint into the stone. If you are practicing prostrating 100,000 times, that's going to have some subconscious changeover. It's going to happen. There's going to be some shifts, some deep humility that you're going to develop, hopefully, to go with your really sore knees or whatever from the practice. But in terms of if you're a low capacity person in this moment, you can do prostrations. It doesn't take intelligence to do prostrations. It doesn't take smarts, right? It takes some devotion and prostrations. Same with the preliminary exercises of practicing giving. So they have these really simple exercises that anyone can do that have really far-reaching effects from the standpoint of Akasha. Like Michael said, without sitting there, like, I'm building Akasha. Who? Me. Right? Where? In front of a bathroom. Like, is that where you want to be building Akasha? Who? Me. Do I hate it here? Yes. Why? It smells. Akasha, me. Like, all of this stuff. It's like, you can do all that in so many different ways. And so to recognize where you might be at in this moment of your day, of your path, and there's always something that you can do, and that's where it can be really nice looking at a lot of different systems, not getting stuck and going, oh, what are the preliminaries here, and maybe I can do that. Anyway, just a thought. Back to you, Phil.
Thanks, man. Yeah, no, that's all good, brother. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you to everyone in the chat who's joined us. We're going to sort of wrap things up now, and I want to take everyone for a quick tour. So this is a lovely little image here that Nathan's put together here. I can see he's taken a bit of time with us. So
hey, you know what, Phil? Michael took that picture.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That was 2023, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was in Thailand.
Yeah, that was in Thailand, up in the mountain, the temple, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome energy. That's right. Yeah.
What's the body of water in the background?
That is the depending on, I guess it's only a body of water if you release time on it super hard. It's the city of Chiang Mai in all of its buildings. And
okay. It looks like an ocean there. Okay.
Anything's water if you release time on it hard enough.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay, awesome. Okay. Well, I mean, let's see here. So, you've got a wonderful website, Nathan. Have you got anything coming up that we can point people towards checking out here? So this is something here.
No, that would have started today. And there's nothing really coming up at the moment. There's the online courses. So those are like weekly releases, videos. There's the Zenden, which is a video Q&A reference library, and there's hundreds of hours of footage up on that. So any questions people have about specifics and like actual processes and whatnot, we go through on there. Hey, Michael Lamb. I'm not very good at making things line up, apparently. So yeah, like I said at the beginning of this, I'm looking into different types of workshops that I might want to do. And there's some stuff in the works. Another podcast that might be coming together, and that might have some workshops attached to it as well. But yeah, nothing specific at the moment. I've been in a very like transitionary time, spiritually, I guess we could say. And so every time I put something together or think about putting something together, it has to be something different, and it's very annoying. So anyway, what's on the website is what's there. There's the YouTube channel. The Maverick Mystic is the YouTube channel. Maverick Mystic Arts Podcast is the podcast. And yeah, I don't have too much else there. That's it. End of thought.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I tell you, like there's plenty to here to interact with. So people who want standalone teachings and things, you have online courses and things like that as well, where people can interact with you too. So thank you, brother. And obviously you cover quite a bit of ground too. So if anyone in the audience has enjoyed, Nathan's take on things, and I'm sure that there will be some, you can reach him on by these means here. And here we go. No picture of Manuela on here, but okay, fine. So here's a wonderful picture of our Michael Lamb looking very regal, and mmhermeticmastery.com, wonderful site, and I've got that there. But I'm going to just move along here because the streaming software is going to kick me out in about 6 minutes. So I just want to keep moving here. So Tree of Life's coming up end of this year, December, and then you've got a Sardinia in May for the Hermetic Foundations, and then all back to Croatia, Bosnia in August next year. So would you like to give us a quick nutshell version?
Oh, me? Manuela chose that picture of me. I picked up a couple of really good ones for ourselves. All right, Tree of Life, it kicks off our 1st of December and goes through to about the 19th. Okay, so that's going to be quite condensed. It's going to be nearly 3 solid weeks. We have a couple of breaks in between, but we start off and we go through all the foundation work. We have a recap, obviously building Taurus energy, working with the elements, and then we move into the planets, obviously starting with Earth, the sun and the moon, and we start with the meditations there within, and that's going to be quite a comprehensive. Plus there's some awesome gifts there with the star meditations as we go through all the constellations. There's some other surprises there. You get to meditate with the 13th sign. You get to feel out about that and many of the different associations there. Plus we also integrate it with the astronomical aspects of the stars and the planets as well. That's going to be very comprehensive. I know we're running out of time. All right, back over to Sardinia, and we've got a two-week there.
Yeah, Sardinia is literally level 1 and 2. So first level is 6 days, and second level is 5 days, and it ties in to visit local sites like the Nuraji and the tomb and the towers and other private locations that have very significant energy. And we really want to bring hermetics into everyday life. So whilst we're teaching, or mostly Michael's teaching the foundations, we want also people to develop their psychic skills and their protection, to become aware of the energies that we're once around. And obviously Sardinia has over 800 Nuraji on like, I don't know, 8 square kilometers. So it's quite dense. So that's that. Plus also people, if they want to go into other areas, there will be just basically free time to do kite surfing. So our host is offering some other activities there as well.
Lots of goodies there, and then we're off to Bosnia, Serbia, and Croatia. So we're looking, and Slovenia, also the Eastern European, which is mainly overlooked. There's some very powerful recognition of energy over there, particularly with the dragons, the Dragon's Bridge, and many other hidden anomalies and beauties there. Oh gosh, where do you start? The Ravni tunnels, we had some pretty interesting experiences there earlier this year, and it was very, very high. It's got the highest negative ion content in the world, bar none. And I think the count is around 30,000 parts.
No, 100,000.
100,000. And it changes at certain times. Once again, what Nathan was saying about certain astrological alignments, you get changes of density and energy. So it's got a great atmosphere. I was quite tired from huffing and puffing and climbing and hiking. Then we're going, into these tunnels quite a way. I felt very re-energized in my own breath once again, because you're sort of ducking and weaving through the tunnels. So I had some great results there. Manuela knows about some of the benefits there. I'm sure you could share them as well.
Wonderful.
Yeah. It's been wonderful. How are we going now for time?
Yeah, so I'll bring up this last tile here. So you guys have got online training available as well. Starting next year. Sorry, we're going to get kicked off in a sec. So I'm just going to say, everyone, please go and check out mmhermeticmastery.com. I will have all the links below in the YouTube description. And there is so much to explore here. And so with that said, I want to say thank you to everyone in the chat who's joined us today. I want to say thank you to my wonderful guests. And could I ask the guests just to stick around for 1 minute once the live stream ends? And would anyone like to offer literally a 10-second final words? Nathan, can you do it? Yeah, perfect. All right, he has spoken. All right. No final words? Okay. Well, I'm going to say blessings. Thank you to all the wonderful people out there. And sorry, did you have something there, Michael?
Oh yeah, yeah. One quick thing I would say: don't offer some of the spiritual experiences that you've had, and try and talk to the average person about it, or even people that think they may know about your spiritual thing, because they're going to write it off. They're not going to see or experience what you have, because the way you experience your journey is completely different, and they're going to ask you to almost summarize it, or they're going to think about an egotistical aspect of how you're trying to present yourself. So your own way you're doing it, there's only so many people be able to sort of, grasp and understand that. So don't give away some of your precious pearls, to swine. Just saying that.
Oh,
Wonderful.
that is so much better than mine.
I don't know, man. I think we can unpack what you dropped, Nathan.
I might be comparing myself here, Michael.
You might. I think there was
One of the
actually a book.
pitfalls of spirituality, mate.
All right. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful afternoon and day wherever you are in the world.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you all.
Wonderful. So much fun.
Blessings to
Thank you.
everyone. You're a wonderful group. And I'm just going to say thanks, everyone, and see you later.